All right, here we go. Our final, as of right now, uh, board candidate interview. We have Rick Antelli Jr. running for 4th Ward.
Correct.
I want to thank you for coming out.
Yes.
Thank
you.
You know, the important thing with all of these and has been in the past, people don't know who they're running or who they're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about you guys doing these is it lets people know who they're voting for and who the candidates are. And I know some of these questions are a little in depth, and there's some information you don't know because you're not a board member.
Yep.
But just really getting to know you is really helpful for the community. So again, I want to thank you for doing this. Like I say, you know, there's 2 rules that I have. You don't talk about the other party. Don't talk about, well, in this case it's fairly easy, the other candidate. So you're running unopposed.
Correct.
But, all right, I'm getting the sound check signal that everything's good.
Good. Love it.
So, get started. And first and foremost, just tell us about yourself.
Yeah, no, thank you again, Ryan, for, giving me the opportunity to come and kind of do this. This is my first time doing something like this, so, bear with me. No, I think it's very important, as you said, to kind of get to know the candidates, who you're voting for, and, a big thing like that I've been running on and what I want to bring back is transparency. So I think this is a great start to kick that off. Just a little bit about myself. Lifelong Greece resident, have lived here my whole life except for 4 years when I attended the University of Mount Union. I played college football out there. Had a lot of fun doing that.
You were a football player? No.
Exactly, right? Yep, played offensive line, utility man, played all positions on it. We had a lot of fun. It was a great experience to be able to do that. Played in a lot of championship games, won a national title in 2008 with the school. So it was a lot of fun and a great experience. But after that, I came back home. Started working in government finance, really. That's kind of where I started. I had the opportunity to work for the Monroe County Audit Department right out of college. Did that for a short period of time where then I was hired at RTS to be an accounts payable accountant for them. I handled all their accounts payable and all their subsidiaries for the different lines that RTS offered. Then during my RTS time, I went to the Simon Business School to get my MBA, my Master's in Business Administration, with a focus on finance and accounting, and then kind of a little blend. It was entrepreneurial. There was some other type of things that I was interested in, like pricing, that kind of took my attention with it. After I got my MBA, I was very fortunate to get a job within the state court system, the 7th Judicial District. That's where I've been for the last 9 years, getting hired as the purchasing manager and now working my way up to the director of the whole department. So I build the budget for our district. I'm in charge of all the financial operations, procurement, contracts. I also help out with operations. It keeps me busy, but it's something that I kind of like. And it kind of aligns in just some of my core values of, giving back to the community and serving my community. Besides my professional career, I live here with my wife, Mary Kay, and my son, Ricky the Third. So, yeah, we kind of like to confuse everybody with that. We keep it all the same. But, so we live in the 4th Ward here in Greece. I live off of Edgemere Drive. And we love it here. My wife is from Greece. Her family is all from Greece. Our family is here, and we're just really excited to continue to build our lives and live in this community that's been so great to us.
That's cool. Just one, if you're able to win, well, scratch that. When you're in office,
yes.
What are your top 5 priorities? To put forward and help the town of Greece?
No, absolutely. In no real particular order, accountability. And that kind of goes with transparency and being available to the residents, listening to the residents' concerns. Accessibility, open meetings, I'm in favor for, and I know a lot of other town candidates have mentioned this too, but I'm also in favor of holding open office hours.
Mhm.
So whether that's weekly, monthly, quarterly, that's something that kind of I want to look to the residents, see what their need is and what actually it is. It might be more in the beginning, but as time goes and we're doing good work, they could become monthly or quarterly meetings. But at least give the opportunity for people to come and talk. I can't sit there and say I'll always have all the answers right then and there, but I think it's very important to have that conversation and listen to the residents and have an opportunity to speak. I think correspond with that is give an answer back too. How many times have we heard like, oh, I reached out to my representative, I never hear anything. I think like at least acknowledging, hey, I hear in your concerns, I'm going to look into this or can provide certain things. I think that's kind of a big part of it as well. Public safety. I mean, that's providing the resources for the police department to do their job and duty, as well as kind of keeping the town safe. I mean, I think that's one of everybody's priority. Everyone wants to live in a safe community. Next, fiscal responsibility. And this is kind of where I feel like I bring some of my biggest assets to the town and running with my experience with government finance, contracts, procurement, budget building. I feel like I can come and bring a fresh set of eyes to everything and be one of those people who can walk into the finance department and say, open the books up. I want to read it. I can understand it. So that's kind of with there. And then, last but certainly not least is, infrastructure. Kind of take a look at some zoning codes, take a look at the master plan, see if it still works for us. I know it was recently, a master plan was done, I think within the last decade, maybe around COVID time. But things have kind of changed, and I think it should be more of a revolving thing. We want to make sure that we're still on the path to provide the residents in Greece what they need. So those will probably be my top 5 priorities. There's a lot more, that we can do in priorities, but I would say, as of now, that's the top 5 hitting the ground running.
No, and with what you were saying about the accessibility, I think that's something that's severely lacking. Like, over the past 2 years, over different issues, I've reached out to every single board member. A lot of times in mass, but via text and things like that, and you don't get responses.
Yeah.
So ironically, the person you're replacing is actually one of the better ones responding.
I know.
And she's not my ward member, or so I'll give Diane credit for that.
Yep.
But I think I told you, and I've told the other candidates that, one of the biggest issues I think residents have is feeling ignored. If I come to you with an issue, even if you don't have the answer immediately or can't, you're busy, which as a government official, like I get, it's like, okay, acknowledge my contact, my reaching out, and schedule a time if you can't deal with it now. That's, I think, something that's severely lacking. It's just that acknowledgement of the residents.
Exactly, and I think that's why I mentioned it's one of the things that I'm going to really make sure to focus on too, because like you just said, even the acknowledgement. Hey, thank you for your concern. It might be something that we can answer right here or there, or I need to look into it more. Maybe it's a more complex where, would you like to set a meeting? We could sit down and maybe dive deep in and kind of really hear the concerns. Right. Just acknowledging it. I think that's one of the first steps to really kind of start with transparency and accessibility.
Exactly. And speaking of transparency, that's our first topic.
Okay, nice.
Many of the campaigns have focused on transparency and accountability. And you did touch on this, but what will you be doing differently than how things are currently handled by the town board to make local government more transparent?
Yep. I mean, what my plan is to be reachable to the people. That's who I work for. That's a very important aspect to always remember. The people are here, they elect you, and you're here to serve the people. And if you're not reachable, you're not doing your job. That's the way I look at it. And then kind of going back to what I said, responding back. It's one thing to say, here's my email, here's my cell phone, you can call me, but if you don't go, if you don't hear anything back, being able to respond back, that's kind of one of the things that I want to really change. And again, it may not have all the answers, but at least I'm going to try. That's the effort to come into it. And two, I plan on having open office hours.
Perfect. Will you open up access to board meetings and offer virtual format, live streaming? I mean, again, we've got some serious technology here, a couple of cell phones.
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I think it goes along with the transparency. It's 2025. COVID really opened the door for governments that, I even experienced it working for the government with technologies and breaking that barrier. I mean, it's there. It's usable, it's accessible, people like it. To me, it's a no-brainer. Why not have those posted and have them live streamed as well?
Right. What is your position on the process of reviewing the agenda items before the meeting, and should these be discussed public? I don't know how familiar with this you are. Currently, it's usually like the day before, or either the Wednesday or Tuesday before the board meeting.
Yep.
Board gets together, they have the agenda review meeting. Now, whenever there's a quorum, it's supposed to be open to the public. Obviously, it's not. Should those meetings be public, or two, should the discussion on those topics just be done at the board meeting where everyone can see you guys kind of debate things regarding the town?
No, I think it's a good question. I know kind of that's how it's currently. I can comment how it used to be done. They used to be open meetings. Anybody could attend the meeting. There was no comment section or period, but at least it gave the residents the time to come, see what was being discussed, and kind of see the questions that the board members would have, and some of the converse that goes along with that. I mean, what's one of the ways that we can prove and show to our residents that we have the best interest for them, that we're asking the right questions, that we're actually doing this type of stuff? Allow them into those meetings. So I support bringing back public agenda hearings, as well as providing the agenda prior.
You mean not like 12 hours or 1 hour before?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we live in a time now where it should be relatively simple to click a button and have a digital copy available on the website.
What public oversight ideas are most practical to improve transparency and accountability?
Let's see. I think I got a little lost. Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
What public oversight ideas do you think would be most practical to improve transparency and accountability? Like, is there a way for a civilian to be involved in some way to help ensure, having me, someone doing what I've been doing for the last 2 years, be involved, not me, hopefully, just to make sure new government's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I really believe that rests within the elected officials. I mean, it's our duty, and we have an ethics and a code that we have to upstand by to do. So, I really think that kind of comes on us. I think it do with transparency and accountability and accessibility will help that. Having the ability for open forums, open meetings, meeting with the public, I think that naturally kind of checks, candidates too, because you're listening to what the residents need. Now, And then I think it will become very apparent that if you're doing these things and you're not doing what the residents are asking and what you're trying to represent, then I think it becomes kind of clear the pitfalls and the shortcomings that you are as an elected official. And then we have our election system where citizens
Right.
can come, and if they believe that they can do a better job and everything, that's why we have open elections. So
Yeah. Everything's done in public, then it's
it's
right.
right there.
Do you feel the public forum questions during the monthly town hall should be in the minutes and printed and available publicly?
Yes, I do. I do think there is a sense of reasonability. We want our town minutes and public records to be quality. If you have somebody who comes on there and takes 4 to 5 minutes and speaks a dissertation, I mean, how good is that, and how much quality if someone grabs the meeting minutes and it's 75 pages? I mean, I joke sometimes, like we see at the federal level, and you have these bills that are 7,000 pages. Like,
Right.
how can you reasonably comprehend something like that? So I do believe it should be recorded in the records and in the minutes, but there needs to be some sort of reasonability, whether it's like resident, John Doe living here, topic of this concern was this. At least
Right.
then it's reflected, so people can get the sense of what our residents are saying and what their concerns are.
As a community, we're in need of more transparency and looking for better access to council members. This one you definitely hit on. How can you help reach this explanation? And like you said, you would you offer quarterly meetings to your constituents? And you definitely have responded to that one. With the as needed initially and adjusting from there.
No, and like I said, that's going to be a big part of, hitting the ground running, is getting to know the residents, hearing what they need, being accessible with it. In the beginning, it'll be as many as we need. As time goes, we'll readjust to see, what the need is for them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next topic is corruption.
Oh, all right. Fine.
Starting with the first and easiest question, at least should be.
Yep.
What is your view on freedom of speech?
I mean, look, I support the First Amendment. It's law. The way I look at it, when our nation was, created, one of the first things they made sure is the ability to have freedom of speech. So I think we need to be able. The First Amendment is very important. I think it's important to have open conversations and debate in good manner. That really what makes us America.
How can leadership / involvement be returned to the people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to kind of sound like a broken record always, but that's the transparency and accessibility. On the actions we take, we must remember we work for the people. And I think if we're transparent and we have proper accessibility, that should work itself out.
Yeah, there's a lot of repetition and questions of this nature, and it's just because of where we're at.
No, and transparency and accessibility is a big issue within Greece, so I can understand and most definitely appreciate the questions and concerns.
This is. Would you support a complete state or federal audit of the town finances or third party? And would you be open to, again, here we go, with the civilian involvement to ensure there's no conflict of interest?
No, absolutely. So first off, I'll say yes, I would support, a full state audit if there need be. Kind of like what I would like my plan to be is coming from the financial sector. I want to go in and I want to kind of take a look at myself and kind of see what is going on, get a better understanding of where the finances are currently situated within Greece. With my background and past work with that, I feel confident that I can go in and actually get a good overview and then make a determination of what is appropriate. If I come in and I see that this needs to be a state comptroller audit, we'll request it. If I come in and see certain things of like, okay, it seems like there's some inefficiencies, there's some areas that we need to button up, I think a third-party audit is appropriate. Where I think the civilian kind of part comes in is, coming from my side, that's something that we should be bidding out for the services. All New York State bids like that are, public record. People can see those type of things. They're posted on the court reporter's contract website. Then we can kind of go in and then make a determination on a responsible vendor. I come in and look at it, and I believe there is a law that I believe after 3 to 5 years of consistently one vendor doing it, it's fiscally responsible to change the vendor just because of that. I look at it too, we want to have low costs for, the citizens, and, when we bid, we try to choose lowest cost, but that's kind of where we can come in as responsible bidder. That's one of the main key factors when you're bidding in New York State law with that, you need to determine that they're a responsible bidder. And I think that's kind of where the opportunity would come, where taking a dive into it, making sure we're choosing a vendor that is right for us and going to do the right things, and making sure they are a reputable company and have the reputation and they're a responsible vendor, because it's up to us using taxpayer funds for this to make sure all those are in line. And that's what I plan on coming in and doing, because it's kind of my everyday job now.
Makes sense. Now, would you support the town requiring GPD staff, town and GPD staff to talk to law enforcement investigators to find out the true extent of the corruption, the damage that's been done by the current administration?
Yeah. These are one of those topics that, as I get in, I want to kind of take a fresh set of eyes on and look into, and then kind of gather more information to make a determination with that is, I know there's a lot kind of going in and everything. I want to come in and try to create a good culture as well within the town. I want to provide the resources for the departments that they need. And that's kind of where it's going to stand. Get in, get the fresh set of eyes, look at what the concerns are, and then come up with an action plan.
Okay. What is your position on potential conflict of interest when town officials / multiple town officials and the town share legal representation as defendants in the same case, and how should the town handle these situations?
In terms of the conflict of interest, I'm not really privy to a lot of that information. That's something that, as we go in, I would take a look at it, gather the facts, seek legal advice. I'm not a legal professional, so I don't want to go on and kind of say what's a conflict of interest, what isn't, what can do. I know there's a lot of different rules within and representation and who can represent who, and if there's multiple things like that. So, I think it's the responsibility for the new administration to go in and actually take a hard look at this stuff, really gather the facts, find the information out, seek the appropriate advice, and then kind of come up with an action plan that works for the town.
Okay. Would you be open to canceling the indemnification agreement that has the town of Greece paying legal fees and settlement costs for Carly Bolanos and Cass Morales Investigative Services for their part in the investigation into and placing tracking devices on the Bachmans and my family vehicles?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. I mean, the Ryans have been through, some stuff. Again, that I'm not really privy to that type of information with it. My goal with that is, again, to get in, take a look at it, seek the appropriate advice that I need with it, and then, make a determination with it.
Okay. No worries. No, I know with the legal stuff, you have to confer with
and that's the thing, I don't want to sit here and sound like, I'm trying to, but again, not being a current member, coming onto this, I'm not privy to a lot of information that might be there. And, it just goes to, I want to do what's right. And for me, that's taking a step back, researching it, doing the actual work once I get in there, and then we can make a determination, come up with plans, and kind of figure out what's actually going on.
Sounds good. All right, on to GPD. So what is your assessment of the GPD's current leadership And do you believe changes are needed in how the senior staff operate?
Yeah, that's something that, when I get in, I want to take a look at. I think the administration that comes in should really be taking a look at all senior staff and department heads and review it as overall. We have a brand new team coming in. We want to make sure that, with our administration, we got the people that are in there that are doing the right things and, supporting what our mission is for the town. So, as we come in, I'm going to support a full review of all department heads.
Do you support you support allowing GPD officers to report misconduct or illegal activities within the department without repercussion or demotions?
Yeah, that's something that, we got to, as we get in, to kind of really take a look and peel the onion back on and really kind of see what is going on. My goal coming in is to create a inviting culture. We want to bring back a culture that is good for everybody to work in and makes people feel comfortable, as they work. So that is definitely something, as we go in, working with the police staff, working with certain interested parties to make sure that, we are providing the resources and the support that they need.
You review disciplinary actions taken against GPD officers and town employees and consider adjusting or revising the actions if it was illegal, unjustified, retaliatory, etc., etc. Specifically, if you look at recent examples where individuals were denied benefits or pensions, decertified, and investigations and charges were based on illegally gained information.
Yeah, again, that's something as I come in that I want to look into and find and kind of really wrap my head around of what's going on, what were the circumstances, what were the causes and everything. But, the way I kind of go, I believe in accountability and following the rules and regulations. So that's kind of the approach that I'm going to take. And, what we find out, then we'll kind of take that and come up with a plan how to handle it.
Do you support bringing back the sports programs for the children that was run by the GPD?
Yes, I do. I'm actually a product of the Greece Police Athletic League. I played football for them. I think it's a wonderful program. It was especially wonderful for me too, being a larger person growing up. I was never really able to play Pop Warner with the weight limits and everything, but with the Greece Police Athletic League, they didn't have the weight classes, so it gave me the opportunity to play a sport that I loved and grow. I'm passionate about sports. I think sports are great. I think the lessons that you learn, the camaraderie, the teamwork that you build within sports is, parallel to none. And then I do think it's a great opportunity too for, our police to be involved within the community. Some of the things that, maybe the image of our police department or the image of,
Absolutely.
police officers overall may not be the best in this time and in this environment. What great opportunity to have officers out in the community teaching and working with the youth and revolve around sports, which, sports can bring so much to communities and people. So I'm in full support of it. Like I said, I was a product of it, and I would love to see it come back.
Do you support body cameras for all GPD officers?
I do. I kind of look at it as a protection for everybody. Having those type of cameras, not only is it for accountability to make sure that police officers are upholding the standards that we expect from them, but it, protects them as well. So,
Right.
I look at it as kind of a overall win for everybody. So I would be in support of it.
Okay. All right. On to assessments. um, What is your position on the current property assessment process in Greece, and do you believe reforms are needed? If so, what steps would you take?
Yeah, so like assessments are kind of, a hot topic with everything now. To be honest, the town board really should not have any type of involvement with it. I believe it's New York state law that states that town elected officials should not be interfering with this. I know within the town we appoint a assessor. It's a 5-year, maybe 6-year term.
Yes.
That should kind of be the extent of it. The board appoints it, and then the board should appoint and instill the trust that they're doing the right thing, and then the board should kind of be out of it. There could be collaboration where if the assessor's saying, hey, this is kind of some of the stuff that we're doing, and now it's on our job that we can work through budget or spending cuts to kind of retain the tax rate for the people, but that would be, the work comes on the budget side, not on the assessment side.
Right. And you are completely right about New York state law where the town board should not be involved with the assessment process. Let's see. In reference to the current grease assessment / reassessment, what is your position on the failure of Bill Relic and the current assessor Dick Bart to accomplish fair and equitable assessments for the residents of Greece with the current equalization rate of 61% and the residential assessment ratio at 61%? The town is experiencing an intentional mishandling of the assessor's duties. How would you approach this area?
Yeah.
That's the big one. That's the long one for me to read.
No, I get it. There's a lot there. That's something as I get into really kind of take a look. I want to understand it better. I know there is rules that you're able to go within the equalization rate, and there's certain ways. I believe there's something that you can have it below a certain point, but then you have to meet it within a certain time frame. That's something really to kind of dive in and understand exactly what is going on. Verse myself with the laws and kind of see with that, and then really kind of come up with a plan to kind of clean this up, make it honest and whole, and then, so we can move forward with the town.
Yeah, I think that the trick that you guys are going to be running into, and honestly, I know that the current grease board just extended the assessor's Richard Bart his contract for another 6 years, even though he had time left. So I'm not sure how you handle that. And I also know the town board has a couple years now dropped the assessment rate, the equalization rate. So it's supposed to be at 100%. That's at 61%. So that's, you guys do have a mess on your hands with that. Or if you're able to get a new assessor in there, that assessor's got a mess on your hands. This is going to be a tricky one for you guys to resolve.
It's going to be something, we're going to take it, and hey, no challenge too small.
Yeah. All right, so development.
Okay.
This is another big one, and it honestly seems like every month or so I have someone contacting me about a new project. It's actually this week.
Yeah.
had another one, so it was, it's something people are really concerned about, and I get it. I do. It's
absolutely. It's the landscape of our town.
Exactly. I mean, how do you plan on balancing development and protecting green space?
So, specifically to my ward, the 4th ward, we have a lot of open and green space. We got parks and everything. A lot of the land is zoned R44, which means that, you need a 1 acre lot to build, 5 acres if you're going to be on septic and not sewer. So with, my area, green space is kind of big. I want to strike that balance. I want the town to have opportunities and to have development that the residents want and that they need, while still retaining our characteristics. I believe, it's important to have open green space, to have our parks that are kept up well, and to provide, plots of land that are desirable as well. Having little more land should be more desirable for people in that instead of kind of trying to consolidate. But that kind of all goes into, once I get in there, speaking to the residents, speaking to the constituents and seeing, what are their needs, what they would like to see and everything, and then kind of collaborating and working and trying to bring those developments to.
So what criteria will you use for appointing people to the planning and zoning boards? Will there be an effort to ensure members of both major parties are on the board? I'm actually going to add a little bit to this that I haven't in the past. I apologize.
Okay.
But how do we get new people, younger people on those boards? I think the current average age is about 90.
Yes. Well, no, that's a great question. As a former planning board member myself, I believe that we need to have boards that encompass all the residents within our town. I think it's great to have younger people on there. That was kind of something when I was on the planning board that the other board members, really appreciated as a younger perspective of kind of looking towards the future with it. I look at it, in terms of politic parties don't fill potholes up.
No.
So like, I think to try to take an approach of the making sure may not be the best route. What I'm concerned about and what I want to see is I want to see a board of residents who care about Greece, who want to be involved with this, who have expertise or have unique certain skills that bring different perspectives or certain ideas to the town. That's how we kind of do it. How do we get that out there? That's something as I go in kind of learning what the process is and how we appoint or how it goes, but like have applications. Put it out on the town website, looking if someone's on the board and their term is going to be ending and they're not looking to rerun with it, post it. Have people come, have kind of an open process with it, because in the end, we need people who are committed to the town, who want to come in and do the work for the residents, and that's really what we need to focus on.
Absolutely. Do you support bringing back the Greece Environmental Conservation Board and not only give a hard look at proposed project impacts, but also be a lead agency on implementing seeker?
Yeah, I believe there used to be the board, and then there was a consolidation with it that those kind of, the environmental kind of went with the planning board. The way I look at it, if there is people out there and there is a want and a need for it, and the board is going to bring another resource to the town, absolutely. Let's bring it back. Let's have people who are committed and want to come in and make the town better. Like, that's gold right there. Like, why would we want to tamp that kind of thing down? In terms of like the lead agency with Seeker, I don't know if I'm 100%, but what I believe is it's the first board that is in front of it. They have the opportunity to become the lead agency in Seeker. So kind of how we're structured, it would be the zoning board would have the opportunity, the planning board would have the opportunity, or the town board would have the opportunity. I don't know if the environmental board would have that opportunity to be lead agency with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So that is not my area of expertise. There's people out there that know a lot more than that, but I'm not.
But again, that kind of goes all back to, as we get there, learning more about this, finding the information, and in the end, do what makes sense and do what's best for the residents.
With malls dying all over America, what is your plan for Greece Mall?
Yeah, I think, it's crazy growing up and, malls was such a big thing with me, being
Right.
a 90s kid and everything, meet at the mall, and it was, it was magical. And, it's a little piece of my heart, too, that dies seeing kind of the current state of it. I think the most pressing thing right now is safety.
Absolutely.
Safety.
Absolutely.
If people don't feel safe, they're not going to go spend money. They're not going to spend time at the place, at the mall. So, that would be my first initiative. Come in and see what we can do to improve safety and make the residents and the people feel safe and welcome there. Once I feel like we can kind of get that, I think it's collaboration, working with the vendors, working with the property owners to kind of collaborate and see like what can we do to help to bring in. And I kind of go back to what does our town want to see here? You know, what do they want? What stores? What type of, you know, yeah, that they want there, and kind of work with that because, you know, and again, we're here to serve the people. You know, I want to try to do the best I can to provide the residents the things that they want. So that would be kind of the approach that I would take for that.
When considering developing green space, will thought be given to if a proposed business is needed in an area and its effect on locally owned small businesses? An example I use is actually in your ward, the gas station on North Grease and Ladder.
Yep.
You know, locally owned small business, and they want to put, I think it's a Crosby's or something, kitty corner to it with 30-something pumps. You know, that would kill it. You know, it's
I can understand. Yeah, that kind of goes back to looking at the zoning requirements, looking at the master plan, and trying to have more of a, you know, dynamic master plan where we're being able to be flexible and changing to kind of meet the needs of what the residents are, and, you know, to keep a certain landscape within, you know, our town. We want to have, you know, logistically a good landscape and a good layout where certain amenities and different things are offered in all areas of the town. That kind of gets down to looking, does it make sense to put something here? Is there a need for it right now with it? That's going to be all the questions and the things once I'm in, working with the residents, working with applicants, business owners to really try to, you know, let's create development that works and is going to be successful, because, you know, we don't want either to, okay, we're going to throw this in there because it's whatever, and then the business doesn't make it. And then what do we have? Do we have a zombie property sitting there? Is it now not, you know, and have, so like there's a lot of different factors in there, which I think comes with doing the work, having the conversations, seeing what the people and the residents need.
Will consideration be given to reusing derelict business space before permits are handed out for areas that are still green or wooded?
Yeah, and you know, this is something that I think it should be definitely pushed. If there's opportunities that we could utilize space that's already there, just kind of going back to what I was saying before, I think we should take advantage of that. I would love to kind of, as we get in, to look to see if there's any incentives that, you know, the town could provide to potential business owners to utilize maybe some of the space or areas that are stagnant right now, that haven't been rented out, or a building that's just sitting there. So, you know, I would definitely, you know, be in favor of that.
All right, so next section is kind of the variety of topics.
Cool.
So, do you support bidding out trash pickup in Greece to a single company in order to reduce costs for residents?
Yeah, so I'm a believer in free market. You know, I want to support small businesses, and I want all businesses to come into Greece and have equal opportunity to succeed with it. I would be in support though, like, you know, I live with the Grandview Beach Association, and our association will reach out to waste management companies and say, hey, we have an association. Would you offer any, you know, discounts if, you know, you come with us and you service our area? So, you know, I would be in support of that. I do, you know, as watching Spencer's, I remember he was mentioning something along the lines of, I forgot what the
Garbage districts or
some sort. I forget what the name is, but I remember the concept of what they are doing is basically if residents get enough signatures and they want to kind of form their mini area, I'll just call for, you know, I don't know the exact technical term. You know, that could be a really cool way as well to kind of get in there and offer better deals with that type of thing. Yeah, Greece, you know, we don't have a waste removal, so it's kind of on the citizens with it. So it's kind of unique, but yeah, you know, I think there is opportunities to look at it.
Do you support residents choosing to have larger vegetable gardens, uh, maybe that affect the new bare ground law that took effect this year? Residents having chickens, or in the expansion of community vegetable gardens?
Mm-hmm. So I support residents being able to maximize their property with reasonability and understanding that we do live in a community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I look at it. I think, we should have the ability to do it, especially, kind of coming into more of the health conscious, I believe, sector that, environment that we're in. Community gardens are great. I think people should have the opportunity to utilize their land, to the best of their abilities and maximize it. But, there has to be reasonableness with it. We have to remember that, we're in a community, and I think it could kind of be looked at in terms of like parameters with, lot sizes and how much land do you have and everything.
Right.
Where I live, our lots are a little smaller. For me to put a massive garden could be invasive to other people. Growing up on English Road in the town, I lived on almost 2 acres of land where, yeah, you could have a pretty substantial garden. Our neighbors weren't on top of each other, so it made sense to, be able to do with that. And it kind of goes along, same thing with chickens. I know in the town we allow it. I believe we have to buy them in threes. I think that's what maybe the rule
My
is.
daughters would probably know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love
supply.
chickens. They're cool and everything. The little chicks are cute, but and that's kind of thing too. We have to remember we want to be able to give residents the ability to work their land, use their property how they do it, but also remember that we're a community here. We have neighbors, they're our friends, and we want to kind of have still the characteristics of what makes our town with it. So,
So how do you feel about Buy America, or Buy American, excuse me, and how do you support that in your life?
yeah, so I support American made. I drive a Chevy truck. No, I do think it is important. I think it's a blend with it. You want to support, American made. You want to buy those products, and I think there's ways that we can do it. Potentially procurement side of things. Contract. I know working with the state, they have certain parameters that they try to focus in on so they can support these type of things. But I buy American as much as I can. I support it even to the point I'm kind of a watch connoisseur, one would say, and I like to sit there. Swiss made watches are always the premium, and American made isn't really kind of penetrated the market. But researching and buying, there's a company called Throne out of Bronx that I've bought a watch on the Kickstarter. There's a company called Shinola in Detroit that are making, parts from old cars and everything. So the small things you try to do that interest you, that you buy American, but I think it is important to support America.
That's cool. All right. What would you do to improve support and services for the veterans in our community?
Yes, no, I think we have to support our veterans. I think it's something very important. They gave a service and a sacrifice to their country and to us so we can live the lives that we do. So I think it's very important that we have to take care of our veterans. That comes with talking to the veteran organization groups, figuring out some of the biggest needs that they need. What can we do to help support? I do know like transportation supposedly is a really big thing right now in Greece. Trying to work with RTS to see kind of what we can do with that. I know Sarge Mitchell.
Yes.
Working with Sarge Mitchell and his organizations as well to kind of see what can we do, in terms of the transportation. Maybe take a comprehensive look at what veterans do we have in Greece? What area, demographic, geographical location are they, in? Is there certain things that we can do to help service these areas, or maybe now become more efficient to offer certain things with that? That's going to take time sitting down, listening to the concerns, working with these organizations, and just doing the work, because I think it's important to always support and provide, what our veterans are. Another thing too would be kind of trying to be a resource to them. I know veterans have certain benefits that they can get, and the town should be a resource to all residents, but also kind of have that line too where a veteran can come and say, hey, I don't know if I'm getting all the benefits I can get. Having someone there that could help them through with that would also be great too.
Mm. On that topic, real quick, I believe the 13th is the Navy's 250th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, Navy. I've got a cousin who's fifth or sixth generation Navy, so happy birthday to all the Navy vets on that one.
Yes.
What would you do to improve? No, just read that one. Would you combine any town services with county services to save the residents money?
Absolutely. If there was opportunities that we could do that for collaboration or mutual assistance, I think it only makes sense. I mean, in the end, we're all in this together. We live in Greece, but we all live in Monroe County as well. We all live in the city of Rochester. We're all New York State people and residents. So the more that we can share and utilize resources for the people, it just makes sense.
Will the Volunteer Historic Preservation Commission be reinstated? I guess it was disbanded 10 years ago.
That's something I would definitely take a look into. I was on the Greece Historical Board for a short period of time early on in my career out of college, so I do have a passion for history. I think history is important. The old saying goes, you can't move forward unless you remember what happened in the past. You have to preserve the history. And Greece does have a lot of history. So that's something as we get in, take a look at it, see what we can do, see if there's interest, within the community to, fill something like that as well. So, but no, definitely something I would, look into. And, if it's going to bring a resource and help the residents and something that the town needs, I'm definitely in support of it.
Town Center Jim decided to remove Fox News from one of the TVs after a complaint. And the person who submitted this question, by the way, you have to let me know if that is back on. There are 4 TVs, and you need headphones to connect to the app to hear the sound. So no one is being forced to listen to anything. Do you agree that all viewpoints should remain available?
Yes, I do. I mean, it's kind of goes back to our First Amendment right. I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of information. So yes.
Okay. I actually do want to know if they change.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time that things change. Would you work to consolidate the fire departments? This one actually is probably a little bit up your alley.
Yeah. So this is a very complex question and just kind of overall thing. There was a study done. I don't know exact date, but it was around. I'll just put the COVID time to see what a consolidation would do. Would there be cost saving measures with it? Pretty much everything pointed to more money, basically. When you kind of got everybody together type thing, it was with the rates and you kind of saw more of a increase across the board. There might have been maybe some residents in the Ridge Road type area, which is our highest fire tax entity within the town, fractionally go down, but everyone else really kind of was inflated with, their tax rate would go up. And then 2 was really kind of with the equipment. Like, we have so many different firehouses within Greece. The logistics of, okay, who takes over, who's the commission, who oversees it, what branches, the calls and everything. It kind of got to the point where it was too big of a mountain to kind of handle. I would be in support to do another potential study on it to see. And, the way I look at it in the end is what makes sense for the residents. We want to try to reduce costs. We want to keep taxes low while still providing the necessary service. I mean, fire department is a pretty critical thing we need. You know, hopefully you never need it, but when you do, you want to make sure the truck has wheels, the truck is rolling, and when you turn the pumps on, the water comes out. So, yeah, that's kind of a comprehensive type thing that is a lot involved with it. The study was done. It didn't make sense at the time to do it. That doesn't mean that a study could not be done in the future with it to kind of see if things change. But yeah, at the time with consolidation, it did not make sense for the residents. Call time would have went down, tax rates would have went up, and logistically, it didn't really make sense with it. So that's why it wasn't done at that time.
Yeah, I know. That is a question or a topic that I hear a lot.
Oh yeah,
because I mean the fire taxes are equal to the town taxes, but
that kind of goes to the equalization rate as well. When the town, when we get our levies with that, and the town is to those 61%, we have to make up that difference at the fire level. Yeah. So I mean, it does put strain on fire departments, but that's why it's kind of a situation that hopefully as we get in and we can kind of work through some of these things, it's kind of like a domino effect and an umbrella effect. Everything can kind of start to get better.
Yeah. I know my neighbor is a fire, so I do know the current cost of the equipment, lead times, especially on trucks.
So
I do get it.
In terms of the cost, a truck in 2017, so let's just say a standard pumper truck was anywhere between $400,000 and maybe $500,000, depending on some of your options. In 2020, 2021, they're now $1 million. So like, if you want to buy a ladder truck, that's over $2 million now. Like, and the lead time for them is like 2 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy kind of how the industry and how really COVID kind of ravaged the fire industry and the equipment and apparatuses and the cost of everything.
Yeah. So what, right now, the relationship between town hall and the school board, school district is non-existent on a good day. Mm-hmm. What do you think you could do to help rebuild that relationship?
I think it's as simple as getting together, starting to collaborate, starting to talk. I know in the past administrations used to have a annual meet and greet and meeting, kind of doing something like that. Maybe it's not annual, maybe it's a quarterly, maybe it's the whole town board meets, maybe it's a rotating council. One time this council member, the next time the supervisor, next time this council member. But I think it's just kind of opening up the conversation again and kind of collaborating and seeing like, hey, how can we work together to make our community better?
Mm-hmm. All right, and last one. Any final statements? Where can people find you, get a hold of you? If they have any follow-ups?
Yeah.
No.
I have my Facebook, Rick Antelli Jr. that's out there. I also have my email. I try to make it simple, rickantellijr@gmail.com. And I invite everybody to, reach out, email me with questions, concerns, because that's kind of where, I want to get into the nitty gritty with it. I want to work with the residents. I want to hear the concerns. So as going into this, I at least have a base with it. I know kind of what people are wanting, besides going door to door and hearing the people's, comments and concerns that way. But, we can't get to every door. We can't get to every neighbor. We might miss you. So, like, I do take it, and I take it seriously when I want people to, reach out to me and come with your questions, come with your comments. And again, I might be able to answer something, may not be, but, definitely something that I want to look into and kind of get back and provide that type of accessibility and transparency.
Mm-hmm. And we'll go with vote on November 5th. 5th, right?
4th.
Oh, I can't. My wife took the calendar down.
Yeah.
Make sure you get out and vote.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again. Thank you again for the opportunity.
I appreciate it.
Like I said, this is my first time, so hopefully I did okay with everything, you know, but it was exciting. It was fun to do this, and I hope to, you know, continue doing things like this because I think it only benefits the residents in the end, and that's what I'm doing it for.
No, well, I appreciate you coming out,
Thank you.
and good luck.
Yes, thank you.